Yep, we're going to bring in Laura Ingraham, radio host and Fox News contributor. Good morning to you, Laura.
Hey, Anna.
And what do you make of the feud that's going on between Cruz and Rubio, and Cruz having to fire or force the resignation of that communications director?
It plays, sadly, for Ted Cruz right into the narrative that Rubio has been trying to set up, and Trump obviously has helped with. That Ted Cruz, you know, it's this dirty tricks, mean guy. He might be really smart. He might be a great person to be on the Supreme Court as a nominee, but as a presidential candidate, not so much. So they love this moment. So Rubio was whipping it all up last night, saying that basically we can't trust this guy on anything. I'll say on this, in the spotlight of this campaign, as things are moving really fast, everyone's trying to get an edge over everyone else. It frankly doesn't surprise me that this happened. People aren't as careful as they probably should be, and so it was probably the right thing to get rid of Tyler. He had no choice. I think he had to do that to kind of try to stop the bleeding on the way that the other campaigns are characterizing him. But yeah, it's obviously not where he wanted to be going into this really important caucus state.
Yeah, but Laura, you know, we've said this a million times. Politics ain't beanball. Yep. It's a dirty business. So as things go, you know, historically, we've seen a lot worse than this, and so now Ted Cruz is getting tarred with all of that.
Yeah, right. So, and I think, Ducey, you either have to smash back at the critics like Trump does, or you have to quickly get beyond it and say, look, this is absurd. Everybody knows my record. These people have been smashing me with negative ads and false mischaracterizations, and so he has to move forward really aggressively. I mean, I think he handled it okay, but I might have been a little bit more aggressive against the Rubio Trump pig pile on this if I were Cruz. I think people are making a lot of this because they want to narrow the field. They want Rubio to be the man against Trump, and they basically want Kasich and Cruz out of the way. The establishment does. So they're jumping all over this, and this is very predictable.
Yeah, it could be, though, but then the Photoshop thing that was clumsy at the kindest. But let's just say yesterday it seems as though a lot of establishment is lining up behind Rubio, which could hurt him. Bob Dole, Tim Pawlenty, Asa Hutchinson
shocking
have lined up behind him. Having said that, this feels like the days before New Hampshire prior to Rubio's bad debate.
Yeah, I mean, here's what people are missing in this race. You can have all the endorsements you want from all the elected officials you want. You can have the Bushes, you can have Tim Scott, you can have Nikki Haley. But if you're lined up with the policies that have driven the middle class into a hole over the last 15 years, globalist economic policies, really horrible, unenforceable trade deals, open borders immigration, foreign workers coming in to take American jobs, and military a policy that a lot of people think has gone awry. If you're lined up with those policies, you can have all the endorsements you want, but you're not going to win these contests because the American middle class, you can see what they're doing. They're rising up against the old order and the dinosaurs in the GOP. So the dinosaurs come lumbering toward Rubio, and a lot of people think, look, Rubio seems like a really nice guy, but he's kind of a younger Cuban version of Jeb Bush. So why am I going to go to Rubio?
Yeah, and if you are Senator Rubio or Cruz and you're trying to claw your way to the top and blunt the momentum of Donald Trump, there are some strategists out there that say, hey, why don't you just try to winnow the field by taking John Kasich, promise him the VP spot, and then you can probably take the Buckeye state with the native son, John Kasich. However, there's a new Quinnipiac poll out now that shows Kasich doesn't take his own state. Donald Trump does. 31% Trump, 26% Kasich.
Here's why I think Trump can take Ohio. I think he can take Ohio for one reason, trade. You saw Rob Portman, the senator of Ohio, move away from the Trans-Pacific Partnership a couple of weeks ago, which was a very big moment in this trade debate. You hear the Republican establishment not wanting to talk about this deal at all now. They just want to say, oh, let's wait, and we're not going to vote on it this year. But I think some of these other more cautious folks on trade, like Jeff Sessions, Trump to some extent, are saying, no, let's debate this now. Let's let the American people see what's in this deal, see whose fingerprints are over this deal, and who really gets a raw deal in the TPP. So this is a big, big issue.
Sure, and looking forward, you know, if you want to believe the polls, it sounds like of the next 14 or 15 polls, it sounds like Donald Trump is leading in about 10 of them. And historically, Laura, you know, if he were the mainstream establishment candidate, people in the establishment would be saying, okay, let's coalesce around the front runner. Let's embrace, let's unite.
Now they want to kill the front runner off.
They do.
Now we have more excitement that we've seen in politics, and certainly I can think of since maybe Bush 2000 or Reagan 1980. There's so much excitement out there. And most of it, not all of it, most of it's with Trump. And so if I'm these other candidates, I'm thinking, what's his secret sauce? Maybe it's time for me to re-examine some of the issues that I've aligned myself with and do a mea culpa on these issues. Maybe if you're Marco Rubio, you say, you know, I'm seeing these crowds. I'm hearing your comments about this. We're not doing this immigration reform. We're going to enforce these laws for 5 or 6 years, and then we're going to deal with the people who are here in a humane, proper fashion. But we're not going to even walk toward the Chamber of Commerce on this issue. Marco Rubio has the cards here to play with the big donors. And if I were he, I would say, look, we have a new path forward right now. Trump is onto something, and I'm going to do it better than Trump. And I'm going to show the voters that I can learn on these issues. Marco Rubio could do that.
You can't hijack like Hillary did to Bernie. You do have to have some Rubio in your new Trump axioms.
Yeah, well, you can, but I think that would show a lot for Rubio to come forward and say, I don't agree with Trump on a lot of things, but I think he clearly has tapped a vein on globalism and immigration, and I'm listening to the people. Remember, Romney didn't do that on Romneycare. He dug his heels in, and on Romneycare, that hurt him in the end. I think Rubio could go to these donors and say, look, we're going to lose this thing unless we start compromising with the voters, and then you'll have a really interesting face-off, perhaps, between Rubio and Trump. But otherwise, I think Trump carries all this momentum in, and meanwhile, the GOP says, how can we kill off the guy who's the front runner? I just don't see how this works out well in the end for the GOP.
And no wonder so many out there don't trust the establishment. All right, Laura, thank you very much for joining us live today.
Great to see you guys.
See you back here next week.